Chapter 39. Securing the Camp. With his rifle up to his shoulder ready to fire, Karnak moved down the center of the hall with Sierra and the others close behind. Things were beginning to quiet down, but Karnak was still hyper-alert to everything happening around him. As they turned down unexplored halls, Karnak glanced back to ensure that everything was okay. It bothered him each time to see Sierra walking, along just a few feet to his rear, as if she were strolling through the park. "You know, you don't have a vest on anymore. You think your back hurts now? Imagine if you wouldn't have had it on," Karnak said one of the times he looked to the rear, hoping to convince her to step behind somebody who was wearing a vest. Sierra just kept walking, scanning every possible spot from which a threat could appear. She knew what Karnak was trying to get her to do. "No way in hell I'm hiding behind one of those guys," Sierra thought, even without the protection of a vest. Rounding the next corner, Karnak looked back and once again saw Sierra still in the same spot and still walking like it was a Sunday stroll. "Okay, you need to get—" The sudden movement and sound of Sierra's pistol firing drowned out what Karnak was saying. Spinning back to the front, ready to fire, Karnak saw one of the CERT personnel dead in the doorway, just 20 feet in front of him. Then another emerged, firing wildly, striking the walls and floor in the hall. Karnak squeezed off 2 rounds, and the bullets no sooner left the end of his barrel before they tore through the wild shooter's chest. "You know, I got mine with only 1 shot," Sierra said as Karnak watched the door for any others exiting. Without acknowledging her, Karnak chose to keep moving. At the end of the hallway, Karnak decided it would be a good idea to check on the progress of freeing the veterans. Things were calming down all over the compound, but Karnak had learned long ago to never let your guard down at times like this. Exiting the stairwell on the bottom floor, Karnak checked both ways and then began moving. Within seconds, they all had their breath taken away by the odor in the air, one that caused Sierra to fear finding its source, which reminded her of the container out back. "Karnak," Sierra said in a tone so serious that he had never imagined it coming from her. Stopping, Karnak turned to find out what had her so concerned while he wondered what could bother a person who not that long ago killed a man with a chair she was still sitting in. "Yeah? What's up?" Karnak asked, not letting his concern show. "That smell." Sierra paused, and the expression on her face was enough to tell Karnak that she had something very important to say. "You need to see out back where we attacked from." Karnak reached out and slapped her on the shoulder. "Right after we see how things down here are going, okay?" Sierra nodded her head, but her body language showed that she was ready to move forward. Still hiding his concern, Karnak gave her one last look before continuing down the hallway. The farther they moved down the hall, the stronger the smell became. As they turned down the next hall, they could see people being led out. Nearing the steady stream of men and women covered in filth and helping one another continue moving, Karnak's worst fears about the place were realized. "Soldier!" Karnak called to one of his men standing by the door. "Yes, Commander?" He straightened up a little as he heard Karnak's voice. "Where are these people headed, and how many more are there?" Kate sent a few squads outside to ensure that the area was secure. "We have been heading them that way, Commander," the soldier said as he helped those he could as they passed. Karnak turned back the way they had come. "Come with me. They're going to need help, and I know where to get it." Karnak began running down the hall, making one turn after another until he arrived at what they considered the front entrance. Stopping at the doors, Karnak surveyed the area, watching mostly his soldiers moving, some even with prisoners. "Looks like things are calming down." Karnak pushed the door open and stepped out. Walking down the steps, Karnak received an answer to his earlier question of what had happened to the troops with the grenade launchers. Some of them were walking behind prisoners they had taken, with Robert and his team following close behind. When Robert spotted Sierra, he began running with one hand holding his rifle steady where it was strapped to his back. Karnak knew Robert wasn't running over to speak with him, but to check on his little sister. Nevertheless, Karnak felt it a good opportunity to speak with him. "Robert," Karnak said loudly, waving him over before he passed by. Robert raised one hand up toward Sierra with his thumbs up, silently asking, "You good?" After a smile, a nod, and a wink from her, Robert ran over to Karnak. "Yeah?" Robert asked, not much on military protocol since he left the military a few years ago. "Just wanted to say damn good shooting. What happened there?" Karnak pointed at what was left of the group who was supposed to blow the fence line with grenades. "It looks like they were hit from the rear and side as soon as the fighting started. They spent most of the time pinned down until we rappelled down and came in from behind." Robert told Karnak what he knew. Having no further questions, Karnak made one more request of Robert. "There are still parts of the building that need to be cleared, but I want to get the civilians out to help with the veterans. Mind joining us?" Robert pulled his rifle around to the front to have it ready. "Lead the way." Before they arrived at the building complex where the civilians were held, Karnak could see that his troops were already taking care of things. From the looks of it, they were more than happy to assist the wounded and less fortunate prisoners. Karnak could still hear gunfire from different areas of the compound, but for the most part, the area they were in was safe. "Okay, time to get back into the fight. There are still a lot of rooms that need to be cleared." Karnak looked back to the tall building. "I need to show you something first," Sierra shouted, and began walking without waiting for a response from Karnak. "Where you going, sis?" Robert asked, out of the loop of Sierra and Karnak's earlier conversation. Sierra still said nothing, just walked with Karnak, Robert, and the 3 men Karnak had with him following close behind. After a few minutes, they could smell the same odor from inside the building where the people were being released from the cages. Being new to the odor, Robert exclaimed, "What the hell is that?" Karnak, however, already had an idea. Sierra stopped in front of the stacks of black containers they used earlier that morning for cover and began to address the others. "What you see here are not just shipping containers but coffins. Coffins used to bury dozens of people at once. The field we crossed this morning is covered with freshly dug earth where they have already been placed, and some that are full but yet to be buried." While Sierra spoke, it reminded him of the documentary she used to love making, although this wasn't one anybody would enjoy. Now, understanding what had bothered Sierra so deeply, Karnak assured her that the people responsible for this would be found. To that, Sierra responded, "What if there are more like this out there? For now we have to deal with this one, and there are a hell of a lot of rooms to clear, so let's move."